You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 199.1.1, our boys basketball report from the Frankton Sectional with Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood co-leader, and Elwood boys basketball coach and athletic director Ryan Vanskyock. They interviewed Tipton head coach Cliff Hawkins and seniors Grady Carpenter, Sam Quigley, and Landon Spidel. And then Frankton head coach Brent Brobston.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Michelle, that's 4 sectional championships in a row for Tipton. Grady Carpenter, Sam Quigley, Landon Spidel all go out without ever having lost in a sectional game. And they always seem to do it in dramatic fashion.
Well, they did this year. Grady pointed out that this is the first time this season all their sectional wins in his previous 3 years had all the final score all been in double digits. So this was a very close sectional, a tough. As we knew it
would be.
Yes, and the 3 seniors all agreed. This was the toughest field overall and path that they've had in their 4 years. And I want to quickly point out, Coach Hawkins pointed it out, Sam Quigley pointed it out, this is the 3rd time in Tipton history they've won 4 straight sectionals.
Wow.
19, it had been the 35-36 team, 34-35, 33-34, 32-33 team, so 1933 through 36, and then 2011 through 14. So, these guys are a part of history and in a basketball-rich program that's rich in a basketball program that's rich in tradition.
Absolutely. We talked about it before the postseason even began, that Tipton had a very good chance of winning this sectional because they had the best player, and that's how it played out.
First, I want to start and say my heart and everybody and all the Tipton, the players, Coach Hawkins and everything, they all really felt bad for Joey Wright. I mean, because he is such a great young man himself, and their hearts went out to him. And great, and you will hear in the interview with Tipton's 3 seniors, Grady and Joey grew up together, and so did Sam. They grew up playing basketball and baseball together. In fact, I saw Matt Quigley down on the floor after the game last night, and of course he was happy for Sam, but you could tell he was emotional because he felt for Joey. In fact, he was hunting for Joey's parents so he could go over and say something to them. Joey Wright, heck of a kid, and
let's set something straight. Frankton is not in that position without Joey Wright.
Oh no, and no. Well, they're not. And you're going to hear Coach Brobston talk about Joey and even Brady Carmack and what they've done for the program, what the senior class, a little bit of the legacy they leave behind. He's going to talk about that. And part of that is, Frankton had spent 2 years in 3A, and in that time, we talk about Tipton being rich in basketball tradition. Frankton doesn't have a number of postseason titles, but they do have a state championship.
They were in a sectional. They were in a sectional with Anderson, Anderson Highland, Anderson Madison Heights, Pendleton Heights for 60 years or something. So that's understandable.
When you went to 3A, and and Chrysler Arena is huge, and it's a great arena, but not as many. It wasn't quite as full, quite as about the atmosphere. And I will talk to you we'll go a little bit more about the sectional championship, or just the venue and the atmosphere at Frankton for 2 nights, both nights. But it's like I told Coach Brobston last night when I congratulated him on a good season, because it was Frankton a good season. Win 13, 14
in a row,
that's but I told him, I said, for me, Saturday night, last night was a win-win, because I was going to be happy for either either school. I cover both. But I have friends in both communities, the Tipton and
Yeah.
Frankton. Of course, the
Two great
Frankton
communities.
friends are a little newer, but I think they're similar, very similar communities.
In some ways, for sure, yes. The passion
The
for
way,
sports, for one thing.
yes, their passion for sports and the way they support their kids and their
Yes,
athletes.
absolutely.
Um, Tremendous. I mean, just tremendous sportsmanship and class by both teams on the floor and everything. It's one of the best sectional championship games I have covered, and I've been around a very long time.
Not that long. Come on.
We're going on 40. We're going on 40 years, I think. So you couldn't ask for more. And those people I mean, I am so glad Frankton got the opportunity to host a boys basketball sectional, and I know it would not have happened had they not remodeled their gym a couple years ago and been able to add 300 seats. Because of the 6 teams in this sectional, their gym is the smallest.
Right.
And Elwood's going to get it next year, but that atmosphere was just electric. Well, you were there, Greg, Friday night. Tremendous. I mean, that thing was packed for both games.
Yes.
And then last night it was packed. I noticed that maybe there were a few seats, maybe more seats available. And I told Rick Teverball was there, and since you weren't there, he came up and sat beside me and throughout the game because he wanted to go and watch the game. And I told him, I said, I don't blame some Tipton fans because, by golly, as packed as it was, if they're running behind, they don't want to drive. I know Frankton's not far away, but you don't want to drive all the way over there and not be able
Right.
to get in. And then knowing that, because I retweeted it because the oldies radio station there, they were doing their video and audio. George Bremer was back as analyst and everything. So they had that option, but
Yes.
it was. I mean, I call it a sellout because let me tell you, there probably weren't more than 15, 20 seats that you could squeeze somebody in. But great. And what a game. Close and back and forth and just
Two
always
great
10
coaches.
kids on the floor that wanted it.
Two great coaches, two great programs. You don't want either team to lose.
No. And what's remarkable, and I did point this out to Rick Tierbaugh, I said, I wonder at halftime, Frankton's only up by 4, I think, 2016. And I said, I told Rick, I said, I don't know if I'm Brent and if I'm Frankton, if I'm feeling real comfortable
I
because
don't think
Grady
Tipton
Carpenter.
led it a half this. Maybe they did
Well,
against Taylor, but at the end of the first, they trailed for
right. But
sure.
what I'm saying is, if I'm Brent, I'm not sure how well I feel. I'm only up 4, and Tipton's top 3 scorers, Grady, Sam, and Peyton, had only scored 2 points, and that was
Wow.
a basket by Grady. That is all they
Ooh.
had from their top 3 scorers in the first half. And you just, as good as Frankton plays defense, because both of these teams play really good defense, you just knew, especially I think with a player with Carpenter's capability, that was not going to be the case. But Frankton came out, scored 2 quick baskets, and ended up going up by 6. They took a 6-point lead, and then Coach Hawkins dialed up the full court press. And like 5 straight possessions, Frankton turned it over. And it's like you'll hear Ryan Vanskyock pointed out when he's asking the coaches, those are huge for Frankton, those empty possessions, because we all know that Frankton usually can run up to a minute off the clock before they shot. Their offense is deliberate. I mean, they don't just chuck up shots. That just kind of the momentum. I mean, and then it was just, like I said, back and forth. But in the end, great players rise to the occasion, often rise to the occasion, and separate themselves. And that is exactly what Grady Carpenter did.
Absolutely. 3 fantastic games. The clear MVP of that sectional.
Yes. And, and Greg, I'm going to tell you now because I asked Coach Brobston about it last night because he has been he's coached, in the junior All-Stars, and then he's been an assistant boys All-Star coach. And I asked him flat out, I said, I said, I want to know because I said, I think he is, and I want to make a push, but not if you don't think he is Grady Carpenter an Indiana All-Star? Coach Brobston said he believes he is. And I know you've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot, and I don't push every great player that comes along and say they're an all-star.
I mean, it depends. It's a really deep year in Indiana, but he is an all-star player.
Yeah, but and I do, and I'm sitting there thinking, imagine him running. You have Braden Mullins and some of these other guys. Imagine Grady Carpenter as the facilitator.
Yes.
I mean, that's why I'm not thinking out of him as a scorer, but to me, it's just his ability to facilitate and to defend. He started out guarding Brady Carmack last night.
Right.
I mean, and he can
literally guard anyone on the court most nights.
Yes, he can. I mean, and I've seen him throughout his career guard post, and I've seen him guard wings. There's not a whole lot of players that have that versatility, and I think Mike Crawford was a great basketball player, but Mike could not have come out and guarded some of these wings and locked down defense like Grady.
And a good off-ball defender as well.
Yes.
So, all right. Who else played well for the Blue Devils, Michelle?
Grayson McFalls, the 6'8" sophomore. And I'm going to tell you, he last night was the best game he's played all year, and they needed it because, like I said, with those three, and then the other sophomore, Quinn Smith, who you were there Friday night when he hit 2 big threes against Sheridan. He hit 2 more big threes and had 2 free throws and a couple of key rebounds in last night's when Tipton needed them. And actually, Smith had 5 points in the first quarter. McFalls came in and scored 8 in the second quarter, and they were just really good. And Grayson did a nice job of keeping Trey Bennett from getting going, and so was Landon Spidel started out guarding him, and Grayson had him a couple times, and or not a couple times. He had him when he was in the game. Good defensive play, I think, by all the Blue Devils, but those 2 sophomores, especially McFalls, I think he ended up with Carpenter had 18 points, and I believe McFalls had 13 or 15, something like that. I got it. But, and, nice number of rebounds. But he had his hands, he was ready to catch Grady Carpenter passes last night. And, earlier sometimes this season, you would see Grayson just catch it and go up and maybe lose it on the way up or not handle it cleanly and get the shot blocked or not have his legs properly under him, come up short, and then commit a rebounding foul, trying to grab the offensive rebound. Last night he got himself set. He shot faked a couple times. He made some nice things happen. His only downfall last night was free throws because he shot just a little under 50% from the free throw line, and he made the most trips there for Tipton. So that kept that game closer a little bit. Sam Quigley only scored 2 points, but it was during when Tipton put that press together, and he had a steal and a layup. It was key. Sam had to guard. He started out. Peyton Aller started out on Joey Wright, and Grady Carpenter started out on Brady Carmack. When Peyton and then even Grady got into a little bit of foul trouble, so Sam ended up with Joey Wright quite a bit of the time because then they moved Peyton a little bit to Carmack because, Carmack gets the ball on the wing. I know he can drive, but he gets it on the wing. Joey Wright, he played his absolute heart out. Late in the game, Tipton gets the ball, and they actually have a lead. And, Joey is just tired. Leaning over, and Grady spots it, and you'll hear Cliff. Cliff likes to keep the ball in the middle of the floor, but Grady took it all the way over across half court to the Frankton, and the Frankton was opposite. Their cheer section was opposite the team benches. He took it to that upper left corner because he felt like less help, spread it more, and create more, open up more driving lanes. And he is directing his teammates where he wants them to go and everything. And he literally sat there with the ball in his hands, and he would drive and pull back, really kind of made Joey work from 1:44 on the clock down to just under 40 seconds. Grady Carpenter was another Frankton Eagle who played really well. Noah Melvin played well before fouling out. He had a clutch basket for them in the fourth quarter, and I think he had one earlier 4 points. But just his scrappy play. But just a great basketball game. I mean, you just hated it with two teams that played so hard that only one gets to go on. But you couldn't ask. I mean, fans could not have asked more for their, to get more for their money. But it sounds like, Greg, that there were a lot of those kind of games last night.
Is.
And when you talk about great players stepping up, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for Braden Mullins.
Yeah.
He's going to be Mr. Basketball, and he's leaving high school without ever winning a sectional.
All right, Michelle, you and Ryan Vanskyock interviewed Coach Hawkins. What should we listen for?
Well, as I start out about asking him, where this one ranks sectional-wise, especially for him at Tipton, because, 4 in a row and, your first one. But this one was just so hard fought all the way. I mean, all 3 close games. And Tipton trailed in all 3 games, but found a way to win. But I think, and he's going to talk about that too, and I think you're going to just, this Tipton team is grittier than the previous 3 Tipton teams. And when I'm not saying that it's better, because I really think the one when Nate Powell was a senior was probably one of the best Tipton teams, because he just provided such a great post presence. But and he had a grittiness too, but this group is just gritty. So, and Hawkins talks about that and what it took and what was the key to the game and everything. So let's just turn it over to Cliff.
Here's Michelle and Ryan with Tipton head coach Cliff Hawkins.
Okay, we have Coach Cliff Hawkins join Elwood coach Ryan Vanskyock and myself for post-game interview following a sectional 4-peat. Coach, I know you probably have a few of these, but talk about tonight. How does tonight rank, especially of the 4? The ones you've had at Tipton, where does this one rank?
Well, obviously, first one always means so much, but this one, if you could have seen us when we started, and we had lost a lot of points in Nolan and Jackson. And so when we started practice, it was very difficult for us this season. And so we began to try to figure out what would be the things we would stand for. And one of those is 50 points or less. And at one point, I know out of, I'll have to go back and check, but out of 20 games, I know we had done it 16 times. And it's not like we really hold the ball. Now we'll spread, which we do a little bit of. We couldn't get too much of that tonight, but because just never could get a 2-possession lead, it seemed like. But it feels great because only twice in history has this happened at Tipton, 1933 to 1936, and 2011 to 2014. And I told the kids, you don't think this will be remembered? We're sitting in the locker room today talking about a team that won the sectional in 1936. I said, that's 89 years ago. Now, we can't name their names, but we're talking about them.
Right.
And you will tell your folks this. And I said, that's how tradition and history goes. And to get a 4-peat here is really incredible, especially on Frankton's floor, because they're so well coached. The kids are so tough. It was just 2 teams that were champions, and we got fortunate to be the champion of the section.
Cliff, let's talk about, because they had you down. I mean, they come out in the second half and go up 6, and then you guys kind of go on that run. But you have a team that never really panics.
We're really resilient, and we practice this way. And we put situations a lot of times you have to be careful with situations because sometimes they're kind of hokey pokey. But like when you've got it really revving in practice, and that's when you can stick something in there like this because they're all keyed. If you kind of do it just as a part of the practice plan somewhere in it, they don't get that emotional feel that you need to have. So you got to get them to a rev part, and then you got to make it a disadvantage, like 3-to-1 ratio or something like that, where you're only getting 1 point the rest of the way. They're getting 3. And then when you go to the spread, then it means something in practice, okay? It's really hard. But our kids are trained. I thought we had trouble tonight keeping it out of the middle. Frankton was so well prepared. I mean, everything we tried to do, they counteracted extremely well, and they should be proud of their effort.
Coach, I thought the change in the game was in the third quarter, about 4 minutes to go. You went to full court pressure. Frankton had 5 turnovers in a row, and when people don't understand with Frankton 5 turnovers in a row, that's probably 5 or 6 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
That's probably 10 points off the board because of just how well they run their offense. Can you talk about that a little bit? I thought that was really smart of you to go full court pressure. Grady got 2 steals in it. 1 was an offensive foul. But just, to me, applied the pressure and sped Frankton up for about 4 or 5 minutes where it really changed the game in my eyes.
Well, what we wanted to do was try to speed them up, but that's a lot easier said than done. And we got in that little run. Sometimes you will find it in the second half, and we might go to one press and then another and then a different trap. But the idea is we've got this speeded up now. Stay committed, and they missed enough of them, and we got steals, like you said. That's probably the difference in the game. Because like if we watched last night with Lapel, when they went in at halftime, Frankton was up 21-16, I think. And that's what they wanted. And tonight when we looked at the scoreboard, what was it, 19-18 or something like that? He said, okay, they got what they wanted. All right, but here's the deal. Grady's got 2, Sam has 0, Peyton has 0, and we're down 1. So stick with it.
But talk about that because, it took Grady a while. I mean, he finally got there, like those quick points you went, that full court pressure. But talk about the play of, again, 2 kids that don't score a lot for you, have it necessarily. I mean, McFalls has the time, but Grayson McFalls' play inside, I thought that tonight was maybe his best game of the season on both ends of the floor. And then Smith I know he had that foul at the end when he lost his balance, but he hit some big baskets for you.
Well, when I told him over there in the huddle, I know our guys were upset, but I said, hey, look, here's the deal. He's got to make 3 of these. And I said, here's the other thing. He might have made the 3 if we didn't foul him. So let's just play here for the miss. There's going to be a miss. And wouldn't it be awful if we didn't get the offensive rebound? So that's what we talked about. And then we took the time out there to try to freeze him. And what a great kid Wright is. And just so competitive, so physically strong with the ball. Just a really good player. Really good high school player. Represents the program. Probably one of the best kids in their school. So, we feel for him, but obviously we're excited for us. And but with Quinn and Grayson stepping up like that, I mean, I feel like Quinn maybe had 3 threes. Yeah. And he kind of, you can't figure out how it's going to go in, but he really does practice hard. And then Grayson, it's just been day-by-day improvement. We just started, and it's still, his upside is still a long way yet. It's going to be a really nice player.
Could you talk about Grady's passing for me a little bit? I know he's broken, he's got the all-time record now, but it's just unbelievable. I mean, he's pulling 2 or 3 guys, and people, I don't think truly understand how great he is. When you can pull 2 or 3 guys and make the extra pass, I mean, that's why these extra guys are getting these open shots, all because of him. People just look at him like scoring, but he's a game changer by how he can pass the basketball.
Well, he is. And, obviously we know the stats. He led the state in assists, I think, 2 years maybe. But the thing about what you're saying there, it's almost taken for granted because, he took that thing over there and, of course, I like it in the middle of the floor. He knows I want it in the middle of the floor. But he felt the lane was going to be on the side if he cut the guy through, and we cut the guy. So he was directing that and then getting himself put in that position. He knows exactly what we have to do at that point in time. And his passing, early in the year, I can't tell you how many practices where Grady turns around and looks at me and says, "They've got to catch the ball." And I would say, okay, we got to have our hands ready, and you got to make the perfect pass. My high school coach always blamed me. He said, "You are the blame if they don't catch it." I thought, what do I have to do, hand it to them sometimes? Okay, all right. But I wasn't near the passer Grady was, but I was a good passer. But he just has a way, and he keeps throwing it. And like some of the guys will say, "Hey, Grady, was kind of hard." And I'll say in practice, "Well, they got to know how fast it's going to be in a game. You got to have your hands ready." And Grayson there's so many times he gets so frustrated in practice, but he sticks with it. And as soon as he makes an unbelievable catch, Grady's right there with a high five. And that's the kind of leader he is. And then they know to get in the open spots. One of the players that's really good at that is Landon. Now, we went a little different tonight because we felt like Grayson was doing such a good job by the rim. And sometimes we needed Quinn because he was one making shots. And he could handle it a little bit. So it was just one of those nights where we just had to go back and forth till we could figure out what we had to do.
And it's a situation, I think, probably where Grady, he struggled through that first half and making shots, and not even, some of those shots going down and out. And then I know, a little bit at the free throw line until, man, those last two he hit were just, they were no doubters.
Yeah.
So just his play. He just keeps persevering.
Yeah, and I think our team has that perseverance and persistence. And where I felt it strongly last night, it was in last night's game. I just thought, we're not going to give in here. And tonight you had a team that's disciplined moving the ball, because how many good shots did they get right there or right in the middle? And that's all because of their fundamentals and their discipline to see, not take bad shots. And it was very hard for us tonight. It was just very hard. We made it hard for them too, but it was very hard for them, for us. And again, that's a credit to Frankton.
Well, defensively too, I thought. I know you rotate. Peyton started, I think, on right, and Grady started on Carmack. But then I know Sam switched over to right some, and then Peyton to Carmack. But I thought defensively, your kids did a great job of. I know Wright and Carmack scored. They're going to a little bit, but of keeping anybody else, keeping Bennett from getting off, keeping Noah Melvin from, or Stansberry from knocking down. I know he had the 1-3, but, hitting big ones that he has before. I just thought your overall team defense tonight was really good.
One of our emphasis was on Bennett because we felt like his improvement this second half of the season was really a key for them getting better, because I think at one point they might have been 4-8, maybe. And we thought, we came down here and watched Bennett, and I watched him against Taylor, and we really did make that a point of emphasis. But we got some guys here that definitely want to talk to you.
All right, Michelle, next we have three seniors, Landon, Spidel, Grady Carpenter, and Sam Quigley, who never lost a sectional game.
No, never. And that's pretty fabulous. And a quick story, Grady's the first sectional that Tipton won. I believe it was Madison Grant they played in the championship. And they did trail in that one early, in that one for probably into the third quarter, and then just Tipton got hot. Grady Carpenter played with the flu and a fever. He'd had an IV just the day before so he could play. Or that morning or whatever. And offensively, he didn't have his legs. He didn't necessarily shoot well, but he still played great defense and tremendous passing. So, but yeah, for him, for Sam, and for Landon, I mean, they're pretty happy. Sam and Landon didn't have as much. Didn't have big roles their first year, their freshman year, but we're part of that program and team to go, like you said, and win 4 straight. And but they've had big roles the last 3, and it means a lot to them. And this is their 3 really really great kids and young players, and it was fun. And I thought Ryan Vanskyock did a great job in with these interviews. I let him lead some of them because I like that coach's perspective that he likes to bring to the questions. I think it's really neat.
And here's Ryan and Michelle with Landon, Grady, and Sam.
All right, we are here with Tipton seniors Grady Carpenter, Landon Spidel, and Sam Quigley. Coach Vanskyock is here again, and Ryan, I'm going to let you start the questions off to him because you've got the coach's eye. You saw the game through coach's eyes, so go ahead.
Well, first off, Grady, I want to get your feedback on Joey Wright. Like, for me, just watching that game as a basketball fan and watching you two go against each other was something special. How do you feel about that kid on the other side? I mean, it was an unbelievable matchup of you two going after each other. It was great for high school basketball.
He's tough as nails, and I love Joey. We grew up together. We played basketball and baseball growing up together. I can't speak enough about him. He's a great kid. He's going to give it his all every time he steps on that court. And, I mean, like you said, this is what it's all about, just battling all night long.
You talked about it a little bit yesterday of having composure. Frankton gets up 6-8 points, and you're struggling shooting the basketball, and you could just see you directing the traffic. You had some younger kids hit some big-time threes early in the first half, kept you guys in the game.
Yeah.
What is your feeling of your teammates stepping up today in a big game like this?
We've gotten better throughout the whole year. I mean, you saw the big man, Grayson. I mean, he stepped up tremendously today. I mean, he was huge for us, made play after play, rebound after rebound. And I just think that's huge for us. The more guys we get to step up down the stretch, the more games we're going to win. And I think we're finally to the point where, we're all connected and we're believing in each other every single time. And, I mean, we say it time and time again, but all we do is play close games, so we know how to win them.
Real quick, great. Coach said that, he likes it in the middle of the floor, and there at the end, you took it to that side. And directing traffic because you felt like better. Was that because, I could see it. I'm sure Coach could see it. Joey, as good and as tough as he is, he was dead tired. Yeah. I mean, when his hands were on his knees when there was a dead ball, and you could just see the way he was guarding you. I mean, you felt like he'd have a harder time.
I felt like when I was in the middle, it allowed the guys on the wings to help in farther and get a foot in the paint. So I felt when I took it to the side, had Landon on the block and Sam in the opposite corner, they were going to stay home on him. I just felt like it was a bigger gap for me to get in there, and I got right through there and I was able to score. So. And
one more thing, not uncommon. Again, I've seen it a lot of times. You picked up 4th foul with 6:08 to go on that charge. So, and as tight as this game was, and as hard as you have to play. I mean, what do you tell yourself so that you don't foul out? Because there was no room for you to foul out.
Well, first of all, I got to stop getting myself in those situations. I mean, but, I just got to be extra smart. If I think there's any chance of me picking up a foul, I just got to let the kid go and move on to the next play.
2 of them were charges, right?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel like 4 in a row here? That's all you guys know is winning. People in my eyes take winning for granted. They don't realize how hard it is. From outside noise, just being around the community, people thought maybe you wouldn't be as good because Swan's not there anymore. Like, what can you say about this season and how special it is to win number 4?
Go ahead.
I got this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Share the love a little bit here. This morning, in our Saturday morning walkthrough before this game, Coach wrote on the board, he goes, 1933 to the 36 in 2014 to 2017.
No, 11 to 14.
11 to 14, that's what it was. So Keith Baxter was wrong. But the point was, that was the last time that was accomplished, 4 in a row. And the fact that we're talking about it about 100 years later, even this team in the last decade, it's a huge accomplishment. 4 in a row is nothing to take for granted.
Sam, I want to ask you, because you really didn't. I mean, I think you put up one shot. You had to steal in the layup. You had 2 points tonight. You shot twice. Was it they took the offense away from you, or was it that it just didn't work that way, or a little bit more energy on the defensive end of the floor? Or
yeah, I definitely was struggling getting some things going offensively. I didn't take a shot the first half. They were staying home pretty well, but the thing is, like, normally I would, in that situation, I would look to create in other ways offensively, but we had guys like Grayson step up tremendously, and so don't fix what's not broken. If they're leaving that much space down low, then we're going to hammer it to him. And then, I like to, when I can't get things going, I like to amp it up defensively, see if I can get a steal, get my hand on the ball, get some rebounds and push it, and just get things going other ways.
Well, a key, I think, I don't know how many total threes Quinn Smith had hit on the season, on the year coming in, but 2 big ones last night, 3 big ones tonight.
He stepped up. I mean, like I said about Grayson, they're all kind of coming along at the right time, and I had 2 points at halftime, so those guys kept us in the game. Without them, we're probably down.
Yeah.
We probably have 9 points at the half. So, because us 3 guards, we combined for 2 points.
Quinn would be beating himself over the head if Wright made that last free throw. But even if it would have gone that way, he's got to understand that we're not in it without him. And like a lot of guys, I mean, everyone contributed tonight.
Landon, a big key, and Coach said it too, was containing Bennett. And I know that was, you started out with that responsibility and had it. Tell me what anything special you did, or that you noticed that you guys were trying to take away from him? I know one thing, you guys let him go out way beyond, and you stayed sagged back in the lane knowing he's not a 3-point threat.
We knew that they did a lot of back cuts and back screens, and well, sometimes when you don't communicate, it's wide open. So like my goal was to help on that, and it worked out quite a few times, but whenever he was above 15-point line, or 15-foot line, like you said, we just let him go.
And then keeping him off the offensive boards, because I mean, I know they had some offensive rebounds. You guys did too, but Bennett didn't really have very many offensive rebounds.
He was our number one goal. Don't let him rebound. That was the main scouting report. He does a lot of his dirty work on offensive rebound and putbacks. So our goal was to not let him get any of those.
And again, you didn't necessarily have a lot of points either. And I know maybe you match up because Grayson was playing so well and Quinn out on the perimeter a little bit. But that was a huge offensive rebound basket you had down here in that. In the first half. The kind of, keep you guys within one at halftime.
Offensive rebounding has become one of our big identities recently.
It's a goal every game. Coach talks about it every game, before every single game. So.
True believer. I think that's how you beat Sheridan yesterday.
They really was. That kept us in first half. That's what kept us in it. We got multiple opportunities.
I think, to me, the biggest thing of why you guys are so successful and you won tonight, and you talked about it a little bit, but will you guys talk a little bit about all the close games that you guys have been in and being able to battle and being able to win in those type of moments? In my eyes, I don't think if you've had those the last couple of years and this year, I don't think you win a game like this. So 100%. Can you talk about that a little bit of what it's like to be in a close game and having that composure and battling through it a little bit?
I mean, we would talk about it in the locker room before practice, when we get to the sectional and we're in a close game down the stretch, we're going to be like, oh, yeah, we've been here before, we're fine, while other teams may be a little nervous. So that is huge. I mean, getting those experiences early on in the season, that prepares you for big moments like this.
Because I think you won the game, and I told Coach Hawkins in the third quarter, about 4 minutes left, you sped them up, just ate for a hair for about 2 or 3 minutes where they had 5 turnovers in a row. And 5 turnovers in a row for Frankton is probably 5, 6, 7 minutes off the clock, and probably 8 to 10 points just because how well they run their offense.
We were down 6 or 8 at that point too.
Yeah. So I just feel like that was the big momentum changer of you
100%.
guys being in that position before. Sped them up just a hair, and they got back to it, but allowed you to get back in the game and take a lead.
Without a doubt.
We played them earlier in the season. They were up 10-0, weren't they?
They were up 10-0.
That's what I told Rick Teverball, who used to work at the Herald Bulletin and has done some work for me in the past before he permanently retired at the end of last May. I told him, I said, I thought I saw similarities in tonight's game from the first game, and that Frankton had that lead, and then the second half you got it, and then you just kind of wore them down. And I thought that kind of happened again tonight. I mean,
Coach wants to wear teams down. I mean, we run quite a bit before the season, so I mean we're always going to be in the best shape. So he talks a lot about wearing guys down, and it helps with guys like him and Peyton pressuring the ball out top. I mean, Peyton was all over Joey, and that's a lot. I know being as a point guard when you're getting pressured, it's tiring.
Can you guys kind of talk a little bit about next week? People don't understand how physical this game was. Like the body's got to be sore. What's the plan for the next couple of days to try to prepare and get your body where it needs to be again? I think people take that for granted, especially in this time in the tournament, of like the things that you need to do. A lot of ice baths, a lot of ibuprofen, which Michelle has. But just kind of talk about what you think you'll try to do the next couple of days to try to recuperate your body.
I mean, we'll probably get Monday off. That'll be nice. So we'll get these 2 days off, which will be nice, and then from there it's just prepare. And
a lot of preparation.
Yep.
You guys do ice baths and stuff like that just to prepare the body?
No, not much of it.
Coach will, these days off or whatever, he'll call it like mental recuperation.
Big plays.
Your diet, do you eat special foods or stay away from just so you...
They're teenagers, they're going to McDonald's.
I'm 18 years old.
I eat about anything I'm thrown in front of me.
I'll burn it off, it's fine.
Well, I didn't mean burn it off, I just meant to, like I know some people like to, if they're playing like you do a lot, like carb heavy or something.
We had pasta the other night before the game. So.
I ate good today.
I didn't eat today.
What?
You didn't eat today? I have a question for you guys. Maybe you can answer it, okay? So, I've only been in the community for 3 years in Elwood. People see Tipton as the villain, okay? It reminds me of like the New England Patriots. Win, win, win. People don't want to be successful. Does any of that ever motivate you guys to want to come out and win?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did. After...
I mean, you have to hear the noise.
Night.
You have to hear the noise.
And the Sheridan game, we had the packed Frankton student section cheering against us.
Yeah, they were doing the Sheridan chants last night. So I mean,
nobody wanted to play us. Who named this the toughest sectional in the state for 2A? And I mean, nobody wanted us. Nobody wanted us.
The lapel people up here last night that were sitting behind us, they were rooting for Sheridan and you guys. Of course, they didn't win either, but I mean that's who they were pulling for.
We knew regardless of who we were going to play in the sectional, it was going to be tough. But we also knew, I mean, look, we can't. Coming in, we've won 3 straight. Nobody really wanted to play us.
Well, let's talk about this for a minute, because really, of the 4 years that you guys have won the sectional, I would say this was the toughest one. The field overall, the toughest one and the toughest path you've had.
Yeah. Outside of tonight and last night, we had never played a sectional game less than 10 points. We had won every single one by more than 10 points until last night. So this was without a doubt toughest one, and we kind of knew it coming in.
Yeah. And do you think maybe because of that, as tough as this tournament was, as tough as some of the close games you've won the last 2 years, that even though you don't have maybe all of the extra firepower where you can be a little bit deeper scoring wise last year with like Swan and Jackson, but do you think maybe as you go into the regional this year, maybe you're just a little bit even better in position to get that regional?
You want this one? I mean, is the regional at Lapel?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to guess probably.
You'll find out tomorrow.
Yes.
You don't want that, Jim.
We've been there 3 times now, and obviously we fell short every time. So I think, even though we've won 4 straight sectionals, there's still a lot of motivation there. We're not going to be satisfied. And
I remember every time after losing the regional, the tears are rolling, and then we're always like, oh, we'll be back next year.
Yeah.
And we keep giving ourselves these opportunities to be back. We just gotta
take advantage.
Is Marion hosting a regional?
I can't remember who the other.
Because
I know
with
Huntington Norse won.
Well, you guys could end up that way with Manchester because they're just.
We've
they're
had
just
some
a little
success
bit
at Marion.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're just far enough north that they might not bring them all the way to look.
Yeah, I think Logansport might be the one they might have. Logansport, right? Would probably be the one.
That'd be fun. That's a cool one.
Before you guys get off,
you played there earlier this year.
We did.
Yeah. Before you guys get off here, I just want to give you guys a compliment from an outsider. You guys are always so polite. You're great. You're not only good basketball players, but you're great kids. The persona of Tipton people being, you know what, it is so wrong in my eyes because when I've been around Tipton people and around you guys, how you conduct yourselves, how you treat other people, how you treat other competitors is just unbelievable. So I just want to give you guys a compliment. Your school should be really proud of you guys, of how you conduct yourselves, and you should make your community really proud. So just from an outside perspective, I want to let you guys know that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
I have one question. Ryan, you probably don't know this. Mr. Quigley here is an accomplished guitarist, a musician. Now, do you write songs, Sam?
I've opted out of playing golf this season, so in my free time I might pick that up a little bit.
I was going to say, are you going possibly working on a song about this season?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
So you're going to college? Are you just going to be a roadie or what? You just...
Big frat
that's
guy.
Plan B.
That's a big frat guy.
Since he's headed to Indiana and Bloomington, are you going to try to do some classes through the music school since it's one of the best, either the best or top 3 in the world?
I haven't looked at that. I'm in the Kelly School business, so that'll be some connections right there. And then hopefully, I am rushing a couple fraternities, join the house band or something like that, get something rolling there.
Well, I'm not saying major, but I mean, I didn't know if you were thinking about that. Because I'm not sure what all they are, because it's changed a lot since I've been there a long time ago, but just thought it might be something that you might, since they have that they do have an accomplished school of music there, that something for a hobby, if you want to take a fun class while you're taking all those hard classes. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll talk later. Again, congratulations. 4P is something to be very proud of.
Thank you.
And especially the way you guys did it.
Thank you.
Good job.
And here is Michelle and Ryan with Frankton head coach Brent Brobston. Again, thank you so much to Ryan and Michelle for picking up my slack.
Coach Brobston, a tough loss, but man, what a great game. 2 very well coached teams. Two teams that have some really great seniors on there, and I mean, other than the outcome for you, I mean, you can't ask for a better sectional final. Packed gym, down to the very last possession.
First off, all the haters just need to keep their mouths quiet of like Frankton. Why is it sectional at Frankton? I mean, everybody's seen why we wanted to have the sectional at Frankton. The atmosphere that the kids, which is what it's all about, the kids got to just enjoy probably one of the best sectional championships I've ever witnessed. So I just wish all those haters out there just be quiet and allow something for the kids and for them to enjoy something that was special like this tonight.
Well, I agree. I
just want to mention that.
I think you could almost do it again last year. It's so nice to have a packed facility for your semifinals and your championship. The first nights, you were almost 3/4, but I know those weekdays with middle school events still going on, those can be tough. But the weekend, it's great to have a venue like this.
Yeah, I think Ryan's right. Like, we were kind of like, okay, how will this be hosting it? Let's take it on. I thought it was just terrific. And I think that Cliff Hawkins said that to me before the game. He said it's been the best he's ever been around in terms of service. like he's never been treated so well by people when he walks in. He said it was absolute first class, and that's great to hear from an athletic director standpoint. And the other thing is the environment. The officials on tonight, I think one of them said that basically he'd done 27 years of sectionals, and this was top 2 he'd ever been at in terms of venue. So credit to some of these guys like Ryan and our sectional. Really our sectional. Credit to our sectional for allowing me to have it.
Well,
To Tipton's AD and to Taylor's AD and to all of them, Sheridan's AD, LaPel's AD. They let us do this.
as far as I'm concerned, you could have it most years. I would much rather see this than gyms that have big crowd, but you still see a lot of empty seats, and it gets loud in here, and you could just tell. I mean, it's like Ryan said, it's about the kids and the players, like I said, and you could see that the energy, I think, carried. 2 teams have put in a lot of work to win last night to get to tonight. Tired legs a little bit. 24 hours is really not, and even not necessarily a full 24 to recoup. So, but I thought the energy of the crowd helped to carry both teams.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just electrifying in here, and all the way down to the end, it was just a great environment. So, I don't think you can ask for a better place to play basketball and have a sectional. I would compare in terms of like that I've coached in. When we played 2019 at Elwood and how loud it was in there. Elwood's it's a loud gym, and I know we get to go there next year, so that'll be fun too. And Ryan will be fantastic hosting that. So it's, but I'm glad we finally get the chance to do this and showcase our gym. We've added 300 seats, or we wouldn't have been able to do it, but I'm glad we did, and we would love to do it anytime we get a chance.
Brent, now talk about the game tonight. Do you have a question?
Coach, I thought the game plan was unbelievable, and the kids did a remarkable job of it. People are going to look that are not coaches. They're going to look at Joey missing the free throw and think that was what cost the game or not send it to overtime. From a coaching perspective, I thought in the third quarter, there's about 4 minutes left. You're up 6-8 points, and for whatever reason, the kids got sped up for that 2 or 3 minutes. You had 5 turnovers in a row. And like I told some other people, when Frankton has 5 turnovers in a row, that's probably 7 or 8 minutes off the clock is how well you run offense. And probably 6 to 10 points off the board just because you were getting those easy shots around the rim. Did you feel like that was the changing point of the game as a coach?
Absolutely, yeah, because we had a 6-point lead, and then it went to a 1-point deficit before I got a timeout. And we didn't take care of the basketball. We got a little careless, and like you said, legs play a factor sometimes into that. And Grady stepped up defensively, and he went to another level in that time. And he just had kind of an energy burst, and you could see it in him. They scored, and then he stole it. I think we got the charge call, and then he stole it again, and he ended up scoring. And before I could get the timeout and get everything calmed down, just a big-time player that made big plays, and we didn't take care of the basketball like we needed in that 2 to 3 minute time stretch, because we were controlling the game pretty well coming out. To start the third quarter, we got a couple sets with backdoor layups, and then we kind of let that happen, and then we called back in and got back and got the lead, and obviously tied up, had the 3 from Carmack on the wing in and out to maybe really put some pressure there before they were able to hold the ball.
I was going to say, and that not only did you have those 5 straight turnovers, but it was Carpenter with those steals, and he was having a frustrating night, and I thought that jump-started his offense, because from then on, I mean, up until that point, he couldn't find the rim or basket and things he were used to, and it was like that just lit a fire under him, and then he did what Grady Carpenter does.
Well, Cliff's very smart in how he coaches them. He spreads the floor at the right time, and he puts the pressure on you when you're down. And so that makes it tough, because you're sitting there trying to adjust and think, what can we do a little differently? We just kind of stuck with what we were doing. We were able to get the steal, I think, by Carmack in the lay-in to tie it back up, or they may have ran the clock for quite some time. But that was just big play after big play for the most part tonight by big-time players. And
plus,
what can you say about both of those kids? Because, I mean, you're watching Grady and you're watching Joey, and Joey's guarding Grady. Like, as a high school just basketball fan, I mean, it was unbelievable just watching two competitors go after each other tonight for 32 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the thing about those two. Like, they've known each other since they were little kids, so they're friends because they played baseball together. Joey was a really good baseball player growing up. He hadn't played for a couple of years, but that's where him and Grady became friends. And the respect they had for each other is really cool, because usually you see the battles like that, and not necessarily is the respect there. And tonight's respect was really cool to see, because you could just see it in both their faces, like honoring each other. The other thing is, in all the years I've coached, I said this to Coach Bagley, but in 25 years of coaching, I've never had a team in a sectional when we've lost act how Tipton did in terms of class act. I mean, it was unbelievable, like the grace that they showed. But most teams are just going to shake your hand and move on, but it was about actually saying, like, we love you, coach, great program, things that kids never say to anyone. So that's just a reflection of Cliff Hawkins and the Tipton kids. But I thought the communities mirrored each other. And I've thought that, but see, Frankton didn't play Tipton until 2013 when I put him on the schedule, so we'd never played for a year, ever. And now that we have, Tipton's gotten the best of us as of late. We did early, and they've kind of had the better of late.
I hope it's a series that continues.
But we'll always continue it, because it's just been wonderful to watch. But those kids tonight for Tipton, I was impressed with that. You don't see that very often anymore in high school sports. I want our kids to always act like that, but I'm not sure we can always do it. Yeah. But they did tonight.
What can you say about your team? I think at one point, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were at 4-8, and then you just had this unbelievable winning streak. Coming over and watching your practice and competing against you, like, one thing I truly think you can say about Frankton basketball players is they're freaking fighters. They don't give up, and it's just unbelievable to see how those kids, of how they fought all year and had an unbelievable season.
Yeah, I agree with you. To win 13 in a row and get to the sectional finals and accomplish what they did, that's what they can't lose track of, is they had an outstanding year. And it was really cool tonight, because, like, Austin Compton, Aaron Korn, Landon Wines, those guys were all in the locker room before the game, so they all drove here. And, you know, Austin was in Fort Wayne, so he came in and spoke to the team and wanted to be here. And just the family part of that, like, this is just keeping the tradition going. That's what I told Austin. I'm like, you're what started this for me, because when I came in, he was kind of the kid that really got all this going, and the kids were really excited to see him here tonight. But that's what you want to continue to play for.
And I think that's a big thing, because you see the same thing at Tipton. You know, Swan was here, Money was here, Ben Humrickhouse was here. And I know he had a brother, but I think he would have.
Compton was like, Humrickhouse is here. I'm going to talk to him about beating Purdue the other day.
But, I mean, I think that's another reason success, just both programs have had sustained success, is because of that family type. And the past comes back to cheer on the present.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been the same way. I mean, Tipton's tradition, if you look back, is absolutely phenomenal. Like, ours is good, but if you really look back, like how good theirs really has been since the
19s, 13, whatever. When the Ertles or those guys started,
it's been unbelievable. I mean, you go with, like, Waddell to Elston to, I mean, there's so many players. Humrickhouse. I mean, you're talking Big Ten players in a school that size.
You know, and Elston was a second generation, because his dad played for Dean Smith at North Carolina.
Exactly. So you got a great tradition there, and I'm proud of what we built here so far. And the guys before me did a great job. Bocker's my assistant, so for 20 years I played for a very disciplined coach that didn't tolerate much other than playing together. So I think I learned from something good.
Do you want to, and I know you spoke a little about the two last night, but the lasting impact, or kind of the legacy your seniors led by Joey and Brady leave this program as you go forward?
Yeah, the thing is this is what I told them after the game. They brought excitement back to the community because what you have to understand, there is something that's taking place here. In 2022, we went to this 3A section, and we went over to Newcastle. There was 100 people in the bleachers, and that's no knock to Newcastle. That's the best venue in the country.
Well run.
Thank you. Okay. But anyways, Newcastle was a 10,000 seat arena, and 200 Frankton fans went over to watch us play. You know, in the first round, you get beat. We kind of lost a little bit, just lost the community in 23-24 because people didn't want to drive an hour to watch us play. I mean, they did, but it was going to be
sectional.
You had to make it to the semifinals or finals, and we did the one year with Newcastle, but it's just not even the same. I mean, in terms of environment for us. So getting it back here and having it in our community, I think these seniors just brought all the energy back to the program because all the young kids were here tonight to see this. And the kids that lost now are going to want to get back to the sectional finals next year. And so that was important. Like, if we get beat last night, you don't get to see that. Then it's LaPel playing Tipton. But because everyone was able to see the championship, I think it made our community proud, but it also wants your younger kids to get hungry.
I want to go back to the game for a minute. I mean, you know what you're going to get, but for a big kind of a difference I thought for Tipton was the fact that two sophomores and one of them, I mean, all are affected the game defensively, but you had Smith and McFalls really step up and play and do huge things that you don't see very often, or probably they're not big time notes on the scouting reports.
Yeah, McFalls played really well, and Trey had to help, and then we weren't able to drop down to the level of the ball, which really hurt us because we were trying to cover the shooters. But see, we wanted Trey to help higher. Trey was helping too low. He was supposed to be higher. That way he could get back to him. So once it got lower, then we were in trouble because the block's wide open. If Trey would have got up higher, we wanted him to meet him at the three-point line with his show, get back to him, because if they would have thrown over the top to McFalls in the middle of the lane, we were okay with that. We would have V-backed in, got out to shooters quick, but we couldn't let him get deep like he did and then drop it off to McFalls on the block because we can't leave Quigley in the corner. And so that was the tough part there. Trey's beating himself up in the locker room. I mean, he probably took it harder than anybody because he just felt like he wanted to win for his kid and the team, and he wanted to cut the nets down, and poor kid just beating himself up over it. But we would never be anywhere without Trey where we're at.
Well, like Ryan said, though, maybe that doesn't happen if it's not a kid like Carpenter with the ball in his hands. I mean, he draws so many defenders. That's kind of
exactly
like with Smith, wide open for a sophomore just to step in, but there was no rush. He knew he caught it and no rush.
Coaching nightmare.
Yeah,
a guy can pull three defenders and make a pass.
Yeah. My kid's growing up, he's 6'7" now, and I just told him in this sectional, watch Grady Carpenter. Like, that's the type of player he possibly could be. And you don't have to do it from the point. You can do it as a 2, 3, 4. I mean, you can spread the floor with that and just cause issues. But Coach Vanskyock's right. Like, he draws so much attention, and if you're not in the right spots to help at the right place, then you're in trouble. And he's as good a player as I've played against in a while.
Well,
he's the best player on our schedule by far. It's not even close.
I'm going to ask you this. You were an assistant for Indiana All-Stars. Is Grady, because I'm about ready to really make a push for him for the Indiana All-Stars.
Absolutely.
Is he ready
yeah,
for
yeah, there's no question. We had kids on the Indiana All-Stars when I coached that went to Grace College. Ian Roush, and I think if you look at Ian's stats, I think he's one of their best, maybe their top scorers now. Ian was 6'6". He was from a 3A school in Northwood, and he was a phenomenal kid. And he was going to Grace. Sometimes unfortunately, I think on how far you make your run sometimes can dictate some of that things, unfortunately. But yeah, Carpenter's an Indiana All-Star caliber player, no question. I don't know that he's not going to be like Hummerhouse. That you're going to see him at Grace, and then eventually he's going to be somewhere else because somebody's going to try to steal him from Grace eventually. It's the passing skills. It's not even necessarily the shooting and the track and bait. His passing, he just picks you apart.
And defensively, I think unless you really watch it, I mean, people don't think of him defensively, but I mean, he starts the game out guarding Carmack.
When he wants to turn it on defensively, he can turn it on.
Yeah, I mean, But Muncie Central, when they played Muncie Central earlier this year, Muncie Central had a player that was just. And Grady looked at coach and said, "I want to guard him." And the kid never. They scored 2 points the rest of the game.
Grady's that's what you want on your team. I mean, he's walked by me several times and talked to me this week, just hit me, good job, coach, this, that. He told me he loved me when he gave me a hug at the end of the game. I mean, he's like our same. I mean, I feel like he's just like one of ours. I mean, it's the same type of kid. They all were, really, to be honest with you.
Obviously, next year starts tomorrow. What do you want to see out of these young kids as they develop over the summer heading into next year? Because you're losing two key guys that really make up your identity of your team.
Right. We got to get stronger, get in the weight room. We're going to have to be stronger, our younger guys. Melvin, Nickham, and Trey, and Stansberry, they're there strength-wise. Now they've played in these wars. So those 4 guys bring back a lot of experience. But we got kids coming up from the JV that were 17-3 that need to get stronger. And you really need to put some time in the weight room. Then we got an 8th grade group that was 20-4 or whatever. And we've got kids in that group that might be competing to try to get varsity minutes or, JV or varsity minutes. And those kids got to get stronger. So I think the weight room's going to be huge. And I think we really need to work on shooting. Like, I think that's one thing that we've got to get better at in the off season is developing. Like, Matt Luce's son, Nate. Matt said he makes 500 shots a day. Or he told Coach Carroll that at Ellick that he makes 500 shots every day. And he made that his goal when COVID happened. That's incredible to do that every day unless you're on a vacation or sick or whatever. He's doing that every day. So to me, I think we got to get better as shooters. And I think some of that is we got to get back to some old technique stuff and work on it, use the gun, work on technique, and get shots in. And then we got to build some camaraderie this summer, gelling some of our younger guys with older guys.
Well, and those young kids got to understand that it's getting the shooting in the off season. Coach Larry Engel, I loved watching him with a post player, great post coach. But the thing, Tipton's always shot well, like over 50%. And I said, Coach, what's it? He goes, the key is, it's what you do in the off season. He goes, tell my kids to take the month off after the season. Put the basketball in the closet, go be a kid, go have fun. But then get the basketball and you got to shoot. You got to shoot like at game speed. It's because you're going to make yourself a shooter. You make yourself a shooter what you do from the end of the season to like October, November when it starts. He said you can't make yourself a good shooters or a good shooting team from November if you're only doing it 3 months a year.
Yeah. And practice makes permanent. Not perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if you practice bad habits or you practice slow shooting, then you're not going to be a great shooter. You got to practice at game speed. That's exactly right.
Do you feel like I kind of feel like that now? I mean, back then, AAU was mainly state tournaments, and then you would pick great players off to go to nationals. But now that AAU is such a money-hungry travel circuit, I think that's kind of set back development of fundamentals of kids today, because they don't spend as much time in the gym working on their skills as
you're probably right. Like for us in the months of April and June, we'll try to do a lot of skill development too with our weightlifting and our shooting, because we've just trying to always continue to get better at that, whether you get a weak left hand, weak right hand, or whatever the basics are. But some of it you try to develop at a young age.
Thanks once again to everyone who joined the Central Indiana Sports Report, particularly Ryan Vanskyock and Michelle Garmon. Thanks once again to them. Also to Grady, Landon, Sam, Coach Hawkins, and Coach Brobston. And thank you for listening. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Central Indiana Sports Report. It's easy to find. And if you're interested in seeing us grow and thrive, please share this podcast with your friends and family. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of IDG Media, and I love Susie.